Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, we're over here on the Japanese side of the game, showcasing the new Super Type Super Sugo Fest ONIGISHIMA Luffy. So this is the team, this is the support, let's dive in. Alright, so I just realized we're on the Japanese side of the game, you can't actually read the title. We're actually taking on the Hawkins Forest in today's video. So I am going to start over here on the Okiku stage, as there are a few things that I do want to talk about when it comes to this celebration that we'll be releasing on the global side of the game in about 2 days' time, with the release of Kid, Luffy, and Law. So if you guys didn't see the video that I posted the other day about Kid and how he sort of operates and sort of where he functions the best, I will leave a little bit of a link in the description and a card at the top of the video. I'll try to remember anyway, and then I'll try and leave a link for Law's video when I do get that up after this Luffy video. But Luffy, I do believe, is the second most valuable out of the three. The downside to the three Onigashima legends are they sort of drop off very, very quickly in terms of usefulness. They are all very strong legends, and they can all still clear like high-level content, but it's just that sort of that point of they're not game breaking. Now, they do obviously come with the new final tap mechanic, and I'm going to say this right here, do not chase final tap, let it come to you. It's not that game breaking to the point where you need to max it on the very, very first debut. It sucks that we can't rank Rainbow Legends like we used to be able to do, but at the end of the day, once upon a time when Limit Break first came out, that was the way it was anyway. And obviously, as the game continues to progress, that will change. With Luffy's final tap, he does give himself a Wano slot with his final tap, as well as give himself base stat boost, I'm pretty sure. It's either base stat boost or something else. I'll actually just bring it up on the database here while we actually talk away. But it's not exactly the most game-breaking final tap. With the release of Yamato that did just come out on the Japanese side of the game, and the re-release of these three legends, that's sort of where you really want to be spending your gems. If you are a global player, I do have a recommendation for what you guys should be doing when it comes to these Sugo Fests that are coming up. And September is a very, very big month for the global side of the game, so make sure to tune in for the lore video, and I will be talking about that. But over here on stage 13, we come up against Hold'em. Now, Hold'em gives himself 4 turns or 3 turns of Threshold. And then on the second turn, he actually gives us a full board of Unfavorable Orbs, as well as 4 turns of Burn. So with the support of Mr. 4 on our Verse Ace character, we can actually lock our orbs, and then with the help of Clash Bonnie, we can actually give ourselves a full board of recovery slots. With that, once we hit the next stage against Kinemon and Kanjuro, they actually give us that orb lock mechanic. Now, there are a few characters that have come out that actually have a limit break that can remove that on themselves. It's kind of a bit of a dookie limit break, but look, it is what it is. And for this particular forest, you really want to abuse that mechanic, whether you lock Wano orbs, whether you lock recovery orbs, any of those orbs or rainbow orbs, any of those orbs are just going to make it really, really easy to deal with the forest. So once we do hit this stage, we are basically just going to pass the first turn. They give us paralysis on our captains, but because we have the support of Barto, we can actually get around that thanks to our Robin character. Now, if you guys want to make this run a little bit easier, or you do want to try this team is global friendly. Obviously, I am trying to keep these showcases very global friendly. But if you do want to try this team and you don't want to use Robin, you can always use something like Vivi Rebecca. I just sort of wanted to include Robin here because she can obviously activate the super typing. On the next turn, we come up against Kiora Shiro. Now, he's going to put up 3 turns of defense up, and then he gives us 2 turns of special bind, and then on the second turn, he gives us slot bind again, and then he gives us 2 more turns of special bind, and that's where Shirishari V2 is very, very good. She's only getting half boosted on this team with Luffy. The quick variation of them is the only one that gets boosted, but their switch ability is just so damn god tier for this particular forest that I had to include them somewhere in this video. On the second turn, I would highly recommend using the Ace Verse ability. That way you can actually get some damage done to Kiora Shiro, and then you can actually take him out on the next turn. With the switch ability of Shirishari, you can get a lot of overheal. We're eating those meat orbs every single turn, which will help with Luffy's final tap, as well as his special. I think his special actually gives him base stats now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, he boosts his own base attack depending on how many recovery orbs you've eaten. And with his final tap, he is going to boost his own base attack by 1,000, and for 1 turn, change his own orb into block orb. So then they obviously stack together. So both of them together just do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, when I got to the final stage, on the third stage against Kiora Shiro, you want to use the Robin special to remove the defensive effects, and then Hunky Dory Bob's your uncle. Unfortunately, when I got to the final stage, I really couldn't show off the final tap of Luffy. I just had too much damage with Ace, and we actually killed way too quickly. But I will try and leave a link to some of my other videos that have included this Luffy with his final tap mechanic. just like I will do with the lore one as well, because there are some places obviously where these legends really shine, but it is really hard to sort of get the proper showcase for them and have that particular content available, or trying to go looking for it is a different situation, a different story. Plus, it's not exactly relevant content anymore, so like, there's a lot of teams that can obviously beat that content. It's just about sort of showcasing this mechanic, but hopefully in the future, we will see this the last tap of the 3 Onigishima legends become a little bit more viable. With Luffy, he just big Umaga Bunga damage. Kids is pretty cool with AoE and 4.5 times the chain lock, but obviously now that we've seen Yamato and some of the like 124 times chain lock that she can do, obviously it's just not that viable anymore. With Law, I do think Law is the most valuable out of the 3, mainly because he gets around resilience. But like I said, I'll talk about that once we hit the Law video. But out of the 3, I think he has the best final tap by a long shot. As you saw there, we took out Jack by utilizing our V2 Shirishiri special on the first turn, and then using our Luffy special on the second. That way we could easily take out Jack by hitting some greats and not losing all of those juicy meat orbs. On to the next stage against Zoro, Juro, Soba Mask, and Wano Kuni Law. We're going to make sure that we switch with Shirishiri. So that's why we wanted to take 2 turns on the Jack stage. That way we can get around this particular stage by utilizing the switch ability of Shirishiri to remove the bind, as well as give us the overheal mechanic. And then we can use the Luffy special to give himself the base stats and the attack boost. With that, we can just do so much goddamn damage to this particular stage that we should be able to actually take it all out in one turn, thanks to hitting a few perfects. That way we can move on to this next stage against Jack, and on this stage we are going to stall a little bit. Alright, so I just had to take a phone call in the middle of the video, so I do apologize about that, but basically we're just hanging around on this Jack stage. On this Jack stage, he puts up 3 turns of damage reduction, 2 turns of threshold, and gives us 3 turns of threshold, and gives us 3 turns of attack down. But with Jack, basically every 2 turns he's going to blow away your friend captain, and then he's just going to start doing double attacks when he turns into the dex variation. Once the defensive effects go away and the attack down's removed, that's when we're going to start outputting damage to Jack and sort of just whittle him down while we get our specials back. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit here, and I'll see you guys once we take out Jack. Alright, so before you leave the Jack stage, I would highly recommend being in the Sai variation of Shirahoshi Mancherry, as well as trying to get as much healing as possible. On the next stage, we come up against Kaido, and he actually reduces our healing drastically. So it's really, really important that we have as much HP as possible moving into that stage, as the recovery orb trick stops being as viable as it is, as Kaido basically just nerfs your healing so drastically. So we are going to switch into Shirishiri, as I mentioned, and that way we can actually just get ourselves to a nice max juicy overheal HP pool. And then we can move on to the next stage against Kaido. Now, the upside to this team is you don't actually need the versatility ace again. Like, it's nice to have, but like for the rest of the run, you just end up having full immunity. So try and hang on to those recovery orbs if possible. But if you do have Vivi Rebecca over Robin, like that will definitely work as well. And that way you can actually like manipulate your dex and strength orbs. But like I said, you're not going to be able to use it on the Kaido or the Orchid stage anyway, so I would highly recommend just keeping those recovery orbs, especially because Luffy thrives with recovery orbs. On the Kaido stage, he is a strength unit that gives us 5 turns of burn. Now that burns about 25k, so just be really careful with that burn, because like it will definitely hurt. Like, it'll hurt a lot. We want to just hit a few greats on the very first turn. That way we can just do a bunch of damage to Kaido, and we can sort of whittle his HP pool down. Once the second turn comes around, however, we are going to utilize our Shirahoshi Mancherry special. The Shirahoshi Mancherry special is going to remove the burn, as well as do a bunch, or actually I think we use it on the 3rd turn now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, I think we use it on the 3rd turn. I think we take another turn here just because we have so much HP. Nope, we actually use it now, never mind. The beautiful thing about using the Shirahoshi Mancherry special is it removes the burn, which means we can now actually hit some perfects if we need to. Ideally, we actually want to take Kaido out on this 2nd turn. That way we don't really have to worry about taking too much damage. But we need to be mindful that Kaido has a revive mechanic. Kaido revives with just under 50% of his HP and gives us 3 turns of special bind. And with that, we basically need to get rid of it before we hit the final stage against Hawkins. The downside is if you actually get Kaido to take a knee, he actually starts doing some big damage. The beautiful thing is, once we remove that burn, he actually doesn't bring it back on the revive. So you can hit a few perfects here if you want to, but just be really, really careful, because you don't want Kaido to just sort of take a knee, otherwise he will just basically destroy your entire run. He doesn't put the burn back up, which is really, really good. It's really, really nice to see that, as we don't really have to worry about it too much, and then on the 2nd turn, when we need to, we can hit those perfects, as I mentioned. Once we've done that, we can move on to the final stage against Hawkins. Now, against Hawkins, he's actually going to turn into the opposite color to our captain. So because we are running a quick unit, he is going to turn into a Dex unit. He's going to give us Despair as well as put up Defense up on himself. So that's where Robin's really, really nice for this. We still have 1 turn of the Special Bind, but we can remove that with the Shirahoshi Mantray switch ability. And then we can get an Orb buff with our verse Ace, and we can get that nice, massive attack boost, 2.75 to Free Spirit Fighters and Quick units, as well as the base stat on Luffy, as we've just been devouring meat orbs this entire run. So I really hope you guys enjoyed the showcase of Luffy. In my opinion, I would only summon for this character if you get your hands on Sabo and Ace. This big character gets so much better with Sabo and Ace. I didn't really want to include them here because, like, I will be including them in the lore showcase, as there are some things that I really want to talk about. But this particular unit gets so much more value when Sabo and Ace come out, and getting your hands on the 2 of them is very... It's not unlikely, but it's something that a lot of players won't be doing, as Ace Sabo is probably the most valuable character in the game, and then this Super type Luffy doesn't come back for a very long time. But like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's showcase. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the final tap off here. As you guys will see, Ace just does too much damage. But if you did enjoy today's video, make sure to go down there and belt the like button for me. If you're new to the channel, hit that big red subscribe button too. But guys, wherever you are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. Get hyped for this celebration, Globarians, because it's going to be a lot of fun. But most importantly, guys, like I said, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Lights!